Underage drinking continues to be a prevalent issue in schools. Now, one local high school is teaming up with an organization designed to help prevent drinking among students. Western Mass News reporter Maria Wilson joins us live in studio with those details. Maria.
Chris, experts, students, and community members gathered tonight at Minnetonka Regional High School with one simple message: underage drinking is dangerous.
Can we think of a crime that involves detection, apprehension, deterrence, prevention, involving an entire community that has a bigger effect on public safety than operating under the influence of alcohol?
More than a half a dozen experts hosted a panel at Minnetonka Regional High School for parents and high schoolers on the dangers of underage drinking. The event was hosted by the Hampden-Wilbraham Partners for Youth Coalition, which works to prevent and reduce youth substance use.
We are here tonight as a celebration, but also an awareness building activity that comes from our coalition's efforts to build a community that is focused on helping to keep our students healthy and safe.
Thursday night's event focused on alcohol use, which remains one of the most popular substances misused by high schoolers. Among the panelists was Assistant District Attorney Curtis Frick, who shared stories about the impact of underage drinking and its legal consequences.
The effects and the outcomes can be quite dramatic.
He says his office usually doesn't hear about these cases until something tragic has happened. According to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a person will drive 80 times under the influence before getting caught. In addition to law enforcement, the panel included students and health professionals, including Dr. Chris Overtree, who is a clinical psychologist. He says alcohol misuse and abuse is a complex issue.
In my experience, I've rarely seen children and adolescents who were struggling from something that came exclusively inside them. Alcohol itself is the direct cause of many physical, mental, social, emotional problems.
Western Mass News caught up with one parent after the event who tells us drunk driving is a major concern for her.
The fact that underage drinking is so prevalent, and on any given night when I'm going to pick up my child from their friend's house, I could be hit by someone who's driving under the influence of alcohol.
The Hampden-Wilbraham Partner for Youth Coalition is set to host community mental health first aid training in the coming months. For now, reporting live in studio, Maria Wilson, Western Mass News.